And all this is just to check the bearing clearance. That's all this is. After you get your bearing clearance, you drop your piston back out and you start putting your rings in if your clearance is good. So, check it again.
Ring, ring, ring.
Like usual, something to go in the video that shouldn't be there. Like my phone going ring ring. Alright, pull that out. And there is the plastic gauge crushed in there. Now we're going to check it. Make sure you're on the millimeter side. And we're the same, 38. So now I know basically all the bearings are going to be perfect in here. Then you just have to scrape off the plastic gauge. Okay, now that you know the order of your pistons, your ring gap, your bearing clearances on your rods, all you gotta do is when you slide your pistons in, use some assembly lube on them rod bearings, torque them down to spec, and do the other 7 of them. In my case, 6. Then I'll be back on when I go to paint. So now got all the pistons back in, everything's cleaned up. Last night before I went in, I put enough Marvel mystery oil in there to fill up just right here. And what that did, I did it on all 8 of them, is so to see if it leaked any. And it didn't, which means this piston rings are sealing. That's great. It means it's good. So now I want to also tell you that when you're doing your ring gap, you want to do about 1 inch down, then in the middle of the bore, and then 1 inch down from that, or 1 inch down from the bottom of the bore, and check it all with your feeler gauges to make sure everything's right. Other than that, it's easy. It's done. If you have it, you can get a bore gauge and use it. I don't, so I couldn't. But everything's good. Make sure to check your rod bearings, or if you're doing main bearings, check your main bearings. But now it's time to get it ready for primer and paint. So to get it ready for paint, what you're going to want to do is you're going to use something like a scraper blade, or these are called 5-in-1s. We use them, and that's to scrape off all the old gasket material, any built up crud, which I've already done mine. You can hear it's always still going to be stuff on there, cast iron, builds up. But clean all that off, wipe it all down, get it dry. Do all your mating surfaces here. And then you're going to want to tape them off first. I use auto body tape. But, I mean, sometimes blue tape will stick, sometimes it don't. But what you're going to want to mask off, you can see where your gaskets were. All around here. And that's what you're going to want to tape off. If you have a crappy set of heads, you can use them too. What I'm going to do is I'm overdoing it because I'm going to use a razor knife to clean it up after. Now I know you're asking, why am I using such small tape when you got to cover all this? Well, the simple fact is I'm going to cover it with paper. Try to save on some tape. Paper's cheap. So I'm going to tape the outline, then I'm going to cut it out with a razor knife, and you ain't got to worry about messing this up because it's cast iron block. Now if you do have the aluminum block, don't use a razor knife to cut out your tape. You'll have to be more precise with your tape, because you will mess up your mating surfaces on an aluminum block. So cast iron, no biggie for a razor knife. Aluminum, you're definitely going to want to use a more precise taping method. And you're also going to want to wait for there not to be gunshots when you're filming, like usual. Welcome to Kentucky. Again, keep everything really clean, wipe it all down, use your scraper. This ain't the point where you want to mess up. Especially, I'll show you my paint here in a couple of minutes when I get to that point. And I'll tell you how much it was, and then you'll see why you really don't want to mess up. Well, I mean, I can tell you now, it was $11 for one can, so I don't want to have to use it more than once, that's for sure. Remember to wipe away from your motor. And of course, I'm pretty sure you saw stuff falling down in there. It's alright. It'll get stuck on that sidewalls, the valley for the cam. Yeah, this one's real clean already. Alright. I'll see you back after I get it all taped. You can see now I got it taped and papered, top and front. Now I got to roll it over, do the sides, and plug any other holes that I don't want painted. Okay, now that you've taped, papered, plugged all your little holes for your bolts, it's time to prime. And that's the best part. Getting to watch something happen. Okay, so now we're ready to prime. I got one of these trigger pulls. It really helps for your wrist, because pressing that button a lot will mess up your hands and wrists a lot. So now we're going to lay a ground coat. Just do light coat. First coat is always light. Getting the angles is what's going to be fun. Alright. Basically that's it for the primer. You just got to do the rest of the block. Now that you got your block all primed, you're going to let it sit for about 15 minutes. Let it really firm up. And then you can paint. I also did my timing chain cover outside. It'll have to, same 15 minutes set up. Then we'll paint.